Don't try and tackle everything all at once. Don't come off any of your pharmaceuticals while you're starting cannabis. Just start by slowly adding a little bit of cannabis to your regime. But I will tell you that with sleep, what I find has worked best in some patients that are very particular and can be sensitive is a combination of THC, THCA in an indica leaning or a sleep-inducing strain. And so sometimes when you go into, you can either see what other patients have used by asking at your dispensary what other patients are using for sleep, or you can try different strains. And I recommend trying a wakeful strain, not for sleep, a sleep-inducing strain, and then start low. And then what I sometimes do is keep a very small amount at the bedside, so that if you wake and you feel sort of wakeful, you can take it. And I take it as an edible. And what I recommend that patients do is that they smoke or inhale a little bit, and that will put them, and that's a process, not an event. Learning how to inhale one little sip to start, seeing how that feels, and then maybe the next day taking 2, or repeating the dose that you took and sort of sensitizing yourself to the cannabis. And then you can move on, and at that same time, you can take a small edible. And what that will do is it will induce sleep initially with inhalation, or Dr. Dustin Sulak recommends using a sublingual under the tongue, and then add the edible, and that should give people quite a bit of sleep. And so, but it's a trial and error, and you have to be very patient, and remember to journal, and don't take too much, because what I wanted to say when you talked about some of the biggest failures in cannabis is when people get very stoned and very high, and because they've just taken too much, or they don't know what they've taken, or so they've tried somebody else's cannabis, and that can be a very uncomfortable feeling for people. They're very paranoid, they can be very anxious, they can have some cerebral disconnect, all sorts of uncomfortable feelings. Know that it won't kill you. You'll just have to get through it. There are certain things you can do. You can peppercorn, but basically hydrate, and wait is the best thing to do. With sleep, people don't usually have that much problem. They might get up and be a little groggy, but then they'll go back to sleep. But I also recommend trying different strains and different cannabis dosing during the day, even if just kind of a day you have nothing to do. If it makes you tired, this is the way I feel that you can assess how you're responding to the cannabis that you're using. Because you can't really, if it knocks you out, that's great. But if you're a naive cannabis user, that can also be unnerving too. So it's all about that process of getting comfortable with cannabis, which can take some time. It can take days, weeks, it can even take months, and then you change, and then but then you're more confident.